Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, to the Chelsea Roar, the Chelsea podcast by the fans, for you, the fans. I am your host, as always, Ian Kelly, and today I am joined by a proper Chelsea fan. That is right, Mr. Barish Agan. Barish is a well-known, I won't say a well-known face on Twitter, but a well-known account on Twitter, because he is one of my favorite Chelsea players of all time, Vialli's Chelsea. So all you proper Chelsea out there will know exactly who the man is that I'm talking to. And I am very, very, very happy to have him on our show today. Barish, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks a lot for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, and we've kind of been chatting back and forth for a little while. I think we initially chatted on my other account, actually, based on pro wrestling.
Yeah,
we might get into later.
Yeah,
But our mutual love of professional wrestling, and Chelsea kind of got us in contact, and we were like, we got to do this. It's natural. It's got to be done.
I've never done this before, by the way, so I that's hence I hate this sort of sound of my own voice, and so hence why I do a lot of tweeting instead. But I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Well, Barash, you're a good-looking guy. Don't worry about it. Your face is fine on camera as well as behind a phone on Twitter. So you're all good. So you're popping your podcast cherry, I suppose, and your show cherry. That's cool.
Yeah.
I suppose for a lot of people that if they want to catch it, it's at Vialli's Chelsea on Twitter.
Yeah, Vialli Chelsea FC. It's not a YouTube account or anything. I just literally, as people know, I tweet, have an opinion. Before, actually, ages ago, I think the account's been running for about 4 or 5 years now. But at the beginning, for a couple of years, I was just doing literally just tweets about Vialli's period at Chelsea, all the games on this day last, 20 years ago, whatever, and have the. And then I got more into having opinions about the games, the players, etc., and maybe doing some funny stuff as well, and bantering Arsenal, Spurs, and as we all do.
As we do.
Yeah.
Well, one of them was going to bottle it last night, and it happened to be Arsenal, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah, I've got a feeling, actually. I know that we needed Arsenal to win, but I actually wanted Spurs to win because.
Me too.
Just because I know Spurs, if they do qualify instead of Arsenal, they won't finish above us. But to have Arsenal finish above us potentially, or be that close to us when we were taking the mick about them, the gap and everything, and the games in hand, and then suddenly we started losing. We should have had third done and dusted, to be honest. But I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll beat Leicester, especially seeing the Leeds performance. I thought we were brilliant throughout the whole match.
Even if it was 10 men before the sending off, we were well.
Yeah, I mean, we're already a goal up. I mean, 24 minutes was the sending off, but they didn't really have any chances. I mean, if you look at the whole game, I understand with 10 minutes, but even up to the 24th minute of the sending off, we were all over them. I mean, but what was good was that we weren't just 1-0. We got to try and get that second goal. We were quite comfortable. I thought Lukaku, who I've been hugely critical of this season on a number of reasons, when he was signed, I thought, great, he could be, the missing piece in the jigsaw. As a lot of people did. We were never going to get Haaland. I just didn't think that was realistic. I know people kept going on about it, but Lukaku was the next marquee signing. And I'm, was hoping it will work out, and it did for a bit, then it didn't. And then he had the interview and it all went, and then he got injured, had COVID or something as well, and it went downhill. But I'm pleased he's I would start him tomorrow. My personal opinion, and with Havertz, actually, I would, both of them. How you fit them in, I don't know, but you've got to start Lukaku. He's on a roll. He's a guy that I think could make a difference if he's at the top of his game, which I thought he did some good stuff, and he looked effort-wise, and he just looked like he wanted to do
It looks
stuff.
like he's. It looks like he looks like that Inter Milan Lukaku again as well. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know who is in control of his diet, but he looked like he's
Mm.
lost a couple of pounds as well within the space
Yeah.
of, you know, 3 or 4 games,
Massively.
massively. And
Yeah.
now, rightly so, because of the interview, this is where the
Mm.
trust issues come in with a lot of Chelsea
Yeah.
fans. Rightly
Yeah.
so. Some
Yeah.
people will say, okay, is he playing for a move? And I'm glad, because you've kind of answered one of my questions that I was going
Yeah.
to ask you about who we start. I personally would be on team Lukaku starting as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only reason I'm asking is because today his agent, on the eve of a cup final, has come out
Yeah.
and mentioned a load of rubbish about meeting the
Yeah.
new owners and blah blah blah. And Thomas Tuchel, of
Yeah.
course, has had to answer something where he goes, "I only saw the tweet 5 minutes ago. I wish you would have come to me."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. He's got
Lukaku,
a.
he seems to get himself into a little bit about. Now, I don't think personally, I don't really. I'm not willing to die on this hill, because I don't think Lukaku's Instagram post was that bad. He said, "Nobody speaks for me. I speak for myself." Blah
Yeah.
blah blah. But I guess this is where the trust comes from again, isn't it? That
The
like,
thing but the thing I don't get, it's a similar thing with Pogba and his agent. I mean, obviously, God rest his soul. I mean,
yeah,
he's no longer obviously there here. But at the time, all of last year and whatever, and he was coming out with all this stuff, the agent, and then Pogba would say, I'm my own person or whatever, and I make
yeah,
decisions. But I'm not convinced that Lukaku makes those decisions himself. Um, there's no way. I don't think that he just decided off the back of his own mind, I'll do this interview without even consulting anyone within his own team. Uh, his agent, I'm sure, was involved in it. And I agree. There's times when I felt Jorginho's agent was bad timing with stuff as
yes,
well.
yeah,
And yeah, I don't know. Look, the thing with Lukaku, I made a tweet. I put a tweet about it. I think it was actually replying to King Canners, because King Canners was obviously saying give the guy time, and which is a very very good opinion, and it's very something that's worth stating, because it's like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's give him time. Let's support him. That he'll come good. He is a talent. My only thing was that I felt that when he did arrive, because of what he did in that season under Conte when they won the league, that I just
yeah,
felt he came to Chelsea thinking, I'm this world class act that's done this in Serie A, and I've come back to the Premier League. I mean, the last time he was in the Premier League was with United, and he did okay first season, but then it kind of deteriorated, and obviously Solskjaer didn't want him. So he's got a point to prove, but I just felt he came with an ego, that he was better than most people were maybe thinking. Hence why I think he then thought he could do this interview or whatever. And I think regardless of who you are, you've got to come into a club. It's like Viali. We could use him as an example, because the fact that he's won, he lifted the European Cup with Juventus as captain, and he was the most expensive. So in Italy, he was like, a class act. His titles and his, the clubs that he played for prove that. He came to Chelsea without an ego. He didn't come there and say,
yeah,
I am who I am. He came in and he apparently treated the others as, better than him. He put people like, Frank Sinclair and Eddie Newton and these guys on a much higher level to what they were used to, because they're seeing this guy who's a star, and he's come in and he's actually treating them like in that manner, and that's how it should be. It's kind of like, don't come in and assume I'm the best player around and have that ego, which I think is what's caused a lot of
yeah,
the problems. I
yeah.
think. I mean, that's just an opinion. I could be completely wrong, but
No,
it
but
just feels,
I think
you
what you're
know,
saying is correct, because I mean, like, football fans, especially in the modern age where
mm,
it's literally at your fingertip. I mean, you can just Google something and
yeah,
get a stat at will to back up your argument, and
yeah,
then go, "Ha, see, I told you." But I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not stupid enough to realize that, okay, he's come back and he scored 2 goals against Wolves. He scored a
Yeah.
goal against, he had 2 very good games. Two, I'm going to say
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
This is also the same player that missed a sitter of a header against Real Madrid.
Yeah.
In a semi-final where you're like, okay, you're on 300 grand a week, you should be burying those chances.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of liken him a little bit to Christian Vieri, actually.
Mm.
Christian Vieri was a little bit like that.
Mm.
For Italy at times, when he was
Mm.
banging goals in for Inter Milan at the time when he was playing for them, and was missing these sitters in the World Cup, and
Yeah.
you're going, dude,
Yeah.
your ego is kind of writing checks that you don't seem to be able to cash. So I think, I suppose where I draw the line with the Lukaku situation
Mm.
is I was actually cheering him on the other day. I'm always
Yeah.
willing to forgive and forget. Look,
Yeah.
bad interview, bad choice, bad advice, possibly. He says he's proper Chelsea.
Mm.
Drogba was his player and Chelsea was his team. Um, I do believe that he has a road to redemption here, but there
Mm.
is that little skeptical part of me thinking,
Mm.
is he playing for a move? But I mean, look, it benefits Chelsea either way. This is the way I see it.
Yeah.
If he's playing for a move and he helps us, solidify third, get an FA Cup against Liverpool, uh, you know, okay, sayonara, see you later,
Mm.
hasta la vista, baby,
Yeah.
as Arnie said.
Yeah.
Or if he's playing to get back in Tuchel's good graces, which I don't think agents and interviews like this or a tweet or
Mm.
not a tweet, Instagram post like that,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think they
Yeah.
help. I think whatever player is playing in the blue, as long as they
Mm.
benefit us, that's all we care about, right?
Yeah, and it was, so I shout out to Simon Phillips actually because I do follow him a lot,
Yeah, he's
and
fantastic. Yeah,
and he has some opinions I actually agree with, and the one that I think was a recurring theme every year for the last number of years now, or since we actually won the league, last won the league under Conte, is there's this mental issue with players. Um, you know, I don't agree with personally. I don't agree with Rudiger doing what he's done. No
nope.
issues him leaving. I've got no problems with that. If he wants to go Real Madrid, absolutely, that's his decision.
I think
I've
he's
got
been
nothing.
very sneaky about the whole situation, though.
Yeah, that whole pre-signed contract, gone and met them, all of that stuff when all this crap at the club was going on, with the sanctions and Tuchel having to, be the spokesperson, which I thought was a complete joke because I actually, no, sort of slight diversion, but I met for lunch today because I work in legal with Scaddons. So Bruce Buck was the guy that set up Scaddons in London
Yeah,
as the managing partner back in, I think, when was it? The late 90s, I think, or beginning of the millennium, something like that. It was about 20 something years ago, and
sure.
I met him when I was working for a legal magazine. Legal, not a legal magazine, illegal. I was going to
Yeah.
say that, and um, and anyway, I met with, ironically, she's the head of sanctions at Scaddons, and I was talking about Chelsea. So they were actually representing Chelsea until the sanctions kicked in, because all the law firms pulled out of Russia, and so we're not dealing with, Russia, and we're not going to have any offices there or anything like that. So they pulled out. I was just chatting away to her, and I said, "Isn't it a joke that um, Bruce Buck, who allowed as a chairman to allow the manager to be, he literally threw him under a bus and got him to do all these, when they didn't come out and do any press. In fact,
Yeah,
I think Abramovich did more press releases than Bruce Buck. And in fact, when
yeah.
Bruce Buck did do an intervention, it was, can we have free tickets or something, or was it the FA Cup? Or can we
Middlesbrough.
play behind?
Yeah,
That's it, behind closed doors or so. And I said to her, "Isn't he a bit of an arse?" And she said, "Yeah, absolute, whatever. Never liked him. We never liked dealing with him. And why your club's got him as a chairman moving forward is a joke." But they spoke very highly of Marina. Said that she's a very strong woman, and very sort of quiet. strong in her own, like in terms of her job and what she does and how she doesn't take any crap. But she's actually quite a reserved, quiet person. But she's lovely to work with. But they literally didn't like Buck at all. But going back to that Tuchel thing, him having to do all of that stuff, and you're going off and doing, what you're doing and moaning and complaining when he's dealing with that crap. And you're going off and signing contracts, pre-agreed contracts with someone else, when Tuchel could have easily walked off as well. If he left the club, I wouldn't have blamed him. I would have said that, because we're in a situation, no one knows what's going to happen. He's under sanctions. The pressure's got too much. He can walk off. He didn't. He said, I want to stay. I love the club. I want to be here next season. I want to stay long term. I have a future. I just wish Rudiger had sort of done that differently. And it's the mentality thing. I think he's dropped massively since he, and I think
because
as well.
because the curtains have been drawn. It's like, we've seen who the real Wizard of Oz is. We've gone in behind the curtain and we can see that it's just a guy. Because Andreas Christensen we knew was a little bit underhanded in the sense he got the new agent and then all of a sudden said, "Oh, no, we don't want to agree with that old contract. We're going to go. We want more money." And it's like, okay, well, sayonara. See you later. And I think with Rudiger, he was kind of playing, well, I could still stay with the club. I don't know. It's up to the club. And pretty much we found out that, that signing bonus is a nice, juicy signing bonus. So it was all about money with Rudiger, really.
I
just think he leveraged fans against the club, and I don't really like that.
Look, I get the fact that Lampard didn't want him, and there was obviously clearly Lampard's after the first year and that summer, he was trying to push him out or get rid of him. Didn't fancy him to be in the team. I get that. That's a manager's decision. It's up to him. Whatever's gone on, it was a bit like the bizarre reasons Tomori was sold and not playing after he had such a wonderful autumn, and then he got injured and he never got back in the team after that. It was just really weird. But with Rudiger, it was kind of then when I think he turned down the offers from PSG or whatever, I think the money or whatever, and he stayed, and he was hardly in the team, I think. And then it got to the point where I remember when Lampard got sacked, there was this rumor going around that Rudiger had, caused the ruckus in the dressing room. There was apparently he was, being, quite restless or whatever it was. But that was found to be, I think, no proof anyway. And he came out, didn't he, and said that that he didn't do any of that, and he's not happy that he's upset that that he's been targeted. But Tuchel resurrected him to a point. He clearly saw how good he can be.
Well, he never had a good season ever for Chelsea before Tuchel came in.
No, not really.
Not consistently, anyway. Not consistent.
No, even in Conte's second season, he struggled. I thought he did better under Sarri. And in fact, I thought Luiz actually played a lot better with him when they played. I remember one game, the Tottenham game at home, where we won 1-0, and Luiz got man of the match, which is for a defender. And I've never rated Luiz massively as a defender. I think as a midfielder, when Benitez played him, he was phenomenal in that role. But he got man of the match. But in that game, Rudiger was phenomenal. I mean, it was a solid performance. It was actually probably, for me personally, I thought it was one of Sarri's best, or one of the team's best performances under Sarri, because we were so good. We went for every ball, the second ball. We just literally, we could have scored more, but it was because at that point, that was a Poch team that was, Champions League. I think it was Champions League final, or at least it was going that way. They were a very good team. So Rudiger kind of had a decent patch or two, but like you say, Roma was where he obviously made a big impression. And then he's done so well in the last year that it's just a shame that, he's not used or looked at that to say, this guy's resurrected my career to a point. Because if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't be going to Real Madrid,
100%. 100%.
So it's a shame, really. But you got to play him tomorrow.
Well, that's where I was going to go next. If we're looking at the FA Cup final team, Obviously, we know he's going to go with the three at the back, the wing backs,
Yeah,
the two
yeah,
midfielders. Now, the latest news, because don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, when we record this, we're on the midnight shift here. We're the graveyard shift here. We're
yeah,
recording this at nearly 1 a.m. That's why
yeah.
we've got a couple of beers here. So if all going to plan, the latest news that we've heard that Kovacic has trained, Kante has trained, so we have a
Yeah.
fully fit team. Liverpool are looking a little bit jaded, I have to say. They did look a little bit jaded against Aston Villa, and one of their biggest components, Fabinho, is out.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's why don't you give me your team first, who you would go for? Because this is the hardest question
Yeah,
for all the Chelsea fans at the moment.
it
I
is.
mean, the back line and the midfield probably tells the story, but the front
Yeah.
is probably most difficult.
The first thing I would do, actually, and this is no disrespect to Kepa at all, I wouldn't even change if it was going to penalties. You keep
No.
Mendy.
That is never allowed to happen again.
I've never really understood the change anyway. I know it's worked sometimes, but you know, I also feel sorry for Kepa that he was put in a position that where he had
Me
to
too.
take that penalty. And look, people slagged him off for that, but you don't know the moment because it's sudden death effectively. Because if you miss, that's it. Secondly, you're not there practicing penalties, are you, as a goalkeeper?
Well, it was the quality of the penalties up to that point as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were very good. And he's coming, and you kind of knew what was going to happen. And I sort of was thinking, if it does happen, I just hope he doesn't get blamed. And obviously, people started blaming him a bit, and but I wouldn't do the penalty like change it. I'd keep Mendy in for the full period. So Mendy for me starts obviously. Back three is going to have to be left centre back is going to be Rudiger. You have to play Silva centre, and I'd go Chalobah.
Me too.
Centre back, because I think with his pace, with Reece James at right wing back, they can maybe diffuse some threat from Diaz.
Yeah,
I think that's that.
Yeah,
But I think if you had, I think Christensen's way off it. I haven't actually been impressed with Christensen. Even didn't he start against Leeds? Didn't he? I think.
Yeah, he was okay against Leeds, but didn't have a lot to do. Listen, I think Christensen is he's another player that owes a lot to Chelsea Football Club, and I think if Courtois gets called a reptile and a snake for everything he's done, then I don't, look, he had his period, a few weeks ago, obviously, and he had to go and change his tampon before the game started. He suddenly got stomach bugs. So no, I mean, I think if we're going to give Courtois hate, not that I condone any player getting hate. Hate is a very strong word, but if we're going to give, I suppose if we're going to look at somebody less fondly, might be the best way to say it. I think Christensen has tarnished his Chelsea career, because let's be real, he's only had a couple of minutes as a decent centre back. You know what I mean? And it's only because of the players around him.
See, I can. Yeah, and you're right, because I can't think, and it could be my memory, I can't think of a game that he's played where I thought, wow, he was superb in that whole match.
Yeah.
Maybe there's been a couple.
There's been a couple, but it's beside Thiago Silva, and so in the tree.
Yeah,
not in a two. No way.
No. Yeah, Rudiger, I think, plays better in a three.
Yeah,
in the back three, I think he does. I think he's more comfortable there. But yeah, that would be my back five. I didn't give the left wing back, did I? See, this is the tricky bit, because he's going to be up against Salah, isn't he?
Yeah.
Alonso, which then you've got Rudiger there, which hopefully could kind of. I mean, I'd like to see Rudiger, right? What he did with Suarez last season, in that, just absolutely didn't give Suarez any daylight at all, and he was that, it was just brilliant. Not just
it was
the performance, the psychological aspects of it. I just hope that maybe Rudy could do that with Salah. tomorrow. Something like that. I think that does make a big difference to certain players. I think Salah can get kind of slightly affected. You see him when he doesn't get the ball, he gets fed up a bit, and he does. I
You
think.
remember he done it early in the season when he started like putting his hand around his waist and everything, and just winding him up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think you got to do it. I mean, it should be part of your character, as I've seen, in the old days, the classic. I mean, Keane was perfect at that. Roy Keane,
yeah.
you know, um, which I wanted to mention before we start recording, actually. But we'll talk about Roy Keane
That's
later or
okay.
something. But yeah, I just hope Rudiger really does. Doesn't do like if someone's injured, just kick the ball out when he's not really injured.
Oh
Which
my
he did.
god. Yeah.
That wouldn't have been the Rudiger of old. So I just want him to really just be, the tough SOB.
Shithousery. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, don't give a shit about, any of Liverpool. You're there to win the cup because we've been fine. Was it? We've lost it 3 years or something. And,
This is our
last year
third.
was,
Yeah.
yeah. And on top of that, we want to stop them from winning the possible quadruple. In fact, what we want to do is once we beat them tomorrow, we want to hope Real Madrid beat them. And in fact, we'll then have a better season than Liverpool, which would be the most ironic thing ever.
Yeah.
So there's got to be motivation. And plus, if you're leaving, you want to leave on a high. You want to leave with the cup. You want to put in a man of the match performance.
I think Rudiger will try and appease some of the Chelsea fans tomorrow and leave in like all won't be lost for him because, as I said, it wasn't like he had an agreement of a contract and then suddenly went, actually, that's not enough money.
Yeah.
I think it was more the silence, as you mentioned.
It was. I think the time was wrong, and now I think when all the sort of doing that.
I think Marcus Alonso though would be. It's the only left wing back we can play really because Sell isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, I didn't understand the. We got Kennedy. I don't know what's happened to him because we brought him back, didn't we?
Well,
in January.
you know what? They're Marina decisions. Again, we know Bruce Muck. I was about to say maybe that's the right terminology.
That's the best. Yeah.
I didn't even mean to say that. I didn't even mean to say that. So maybe that's just a little bit of I don't know, karma coming through.
It's a very good wrestling name, by the way.
Bruce Muck. Yeah.
Bruce Muck. Yeah.
Straight from the bayous. But I think Marine is the same. I mean, I don't really want Marina or Bruce around the club too much longer under new ownership. I'd like a transitional period. But don't forget, Marine is responsible for Danny Drinkwater still being at the club, Timo Bakayoko, and all these guys, and also responsible for Jules Koundé not being at the club this year because of a difference of 10 million. So I think those egos need to go out the door now, and I think we'll get onto the new ownership later. But
so my midfield, this is the tricky one because definitely if he's fit, he's got to start. I tweeted actually this evening, Kovacic has to start. He's been my player of the year for Chelsea.
Me too.
I was reading a stat. I think the games that he hasn't started for us, we've only won 40% or something with him in it. In the starting, it's like 65-70%. It's like there's a huge difference. I just think he's phenomenal. He has been, for me, in the last 3 years, and I'm talking about even under the first year under Lampard, I think he's been the most improved Chelsea player at the club year on year. He
keeps getting better.
He's not digressed or anything. He's just kept going. I just love the guy. I think, and every game, he's putting effort in. That's all you ask. You're playing for the badge. You're playing for the fans. You're playing for the club. And I know people slagged off this. We paid 40 million for him during the, and all this stuff after the loan. That first season on loan, we weren't sure what his role was and was he worth, having a permanent move and all this stuff. But actually, he's been phenomenal. And that you got a chance of winning the game if in midfield in particular with him in it.
He's a complete midfield player, and not only that, I don't know what he's eaten or what his diet is, but the guy is like he's built like a middleweight boxer. Like he's
and he's like steam training. I mean, like Kante was last season in the Champions League knockout stages, all the way to the final. Like a steam train, he can go forward box to box, but he's also able to come back and literally be that defensive midfielder to a point, a lot more than Kante actually.
Yeah.
He's a better defender than Kante for me. That's my opinion. I think he's a better defender, more solid in that, in defending the. But Jorginho's been, I think, when he's played, okay, some games he hasn't really shone, but I rate him a lot because
He was the glue. He was the glue against Leeds the
yeah,
other night.
absolutely, without a doubt. And it's no fluke when you're winning that many trophies and accolades, and regardless of whether he deserved the Ballon d'Or or not, the point is that he's been an integral part of that Champions League trophy. He's obviously won the Euros with Italy, and he was an integral part of that team. I mean, there's a reason that managers pick him. Mancini, Vialli, pick him for Italy. Mancini with Vialli advising to a point, and then you've got Sarri that plays him. He was wanted by Guardiola. Is reported. He's been picked by, regardless of what we think. Lampard picked him quite. I think he was the most used player, outfield player under Lampard in his first season as manager. Says it all about Jorginho. He's been an integral part, I think, this season as well. He has the odd few games where he struggles a bit, but that happens depending on the teams. That in terms of the pressure and how much time he's got on the ball. Because to be fair, we're not free flowing it and doing a Liverpool. We are slowly passing it, so there is time. But then some teams may close him down quicker. But so I don't know who it's a difficult one.
No, for me it would be Kovacic and Jorginho without a shadow of a doubt. I think Jorginho is in there first and foremost, especially in a cup final.
I think basing it on form, and Kante hasn't been, and I think Kante's just knackered. I think he's overrun. He needs a rest. I
think his injuries are catching up with him too. Like you cannot expect this. You know what I mean? You cannot expect the Kante of 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
No, but Petit made a very good point a few weeks ago in an article. I think it was Evening Standard or something, and he was saying that that Kante's got to stop being this nice guy on the pitch, trying to do everything, trying to help everyone. He's got to think about his own. So he's everywhere. I mean, the guy's got so much energy. He's everywhere, doing everything. He's clearing up the ball. He's running with the ball. He's running back, trying to tackle. Whatever he's doing. So he's doing everything. He's doing like trying to juggle 15 plates. Or he's trying to spin 15 plates or whatever in one go, and it's trying to balance them all. So, I agree. I'd do Jorginho, Kovacic personally. I think them two actually work far better together as a partnership.
Me too,
and they've played together since Sarri, so it kind of makes sense. But that I'd be comfortable with those two, especially Fabinho, who's not playing. I think that will give more chance for those two in midfield to dominate that area. I think they'll be too good for Henderson personally.
Yeah. Now is the tricky part.
So we've got, what was that, 7 already. So we've got how many more? 3. We've got to mention 3 now.
The front 3.
Front 3. So Mount has to play.
Yep.
I see Pulisic as well has been really good. Are
you thinking pace? Because obviously Trent is going to push, and then if it's Trent and Mo Salah, we got to think, okay, we've got, it's a double-edged sword almost if you think about it, because you've got Alonso on the left wing. So who do you have on the left side? To help him defensively. But then also take advantage of that side where Trent is going to be pushed up.
If I think Mount's on the left side of that, I think he can come back and help Alonso.
That's what so are you thinking? That's interesting, because I talked to a Liverpool fan on last night's show, and he thought, in fact, it was actually a Man United fan that was hosting the show to kind of keep it even keel. because they don't like either Liverpool or Chelsea. So it was like, okay, it makes sense. So he was hosting the debate, and he actually thought it would be interesting to put Mount over on the left hand side here, because obviously he's been used on the right a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
But I wouldn't play him too wide out. So I'd have both
tucking in,
tucking in a lot narrower.
Yeah.
With Lukaku above. So you got them kind of as two cams in a way, but who can actually maybe roam a bit and go wide if necessary, if they need to. I think give them the freedom to do that if they need to.
And then I know where you're going on the left hand side now after saying, or on the right hand side.
Yeah, I mean, the other option is you put Mount as a cam literally, and then you have Havertz further forward, so he's nearer to Lukaku. But actually, I think Lukaku would be better on his own up front with them two maybe behind. So Werner doesn't make or Pulisic make it. It's a shame because, in fact, I was reading Werner's interview in the Evening Standard today on the way home, and he's. I know there was some people quoting what he said about Klopp, but actually he does write quite a bit in the interview. There is quite a bit he says about Tuchel, and he does rank Tuchel as one of the best alongside Klopp and Guardiola, which was omitted from some of the quotes. But but he was saying that he keeps trying hard, and he does try hard. But it's just that I think it's a one-off game, and we need to be at our best, and you've got to pick your best 11. I think on form, you have to pick Havertz, Mount, and Lukaku. Pulisic has done brilliantly. Last Leeds game he was there doing stuff and obviously scored. But is he consistent enough? Is he going to be able to keep on the physical side? Is he going to be able to beat the likes of Virgil van Dijk? Who's going to be solid? I think the only people that can be up against those kind of defenders is going to be a Lukaku, who I think who actually spade Van Dijk fall on the floor when we played them at, was it Anfield, wasn't it?
Anfield, yeah.
Yeah, and if you remember, there was a bit where Lukaku, he had a good game. Lukaku was doing stuff, and he got Virgil van Dijk on the floor, because of his.
I also think I think Kai Havertz as well. He's a big guy, 6'3".
Yeah.
And I think Kai is starting to mold into that proper Chelsea.
Yeah.
Thug, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, like that Mina thing. The Everton player kind of giving him that, and he pushes him on the floor. He's starting to get that kind of fucking shithousery about him.
Which is what it should be. I mean, you go back to the United team. You remember the Arsenal games in the tunnel when Keane's
Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira, yeah.
Yeah, it's what you need, and that's what we've missed. We've missed that aggression. I'm not saying aggression to get someone injured, but I'm talking about passion, aggression
in the right way.
Yeah. We need that in the team. We haven't had that. We haven't had that kind of.
Reece James has got it in abundance, hasn't he?
Yeah, Mount's got it to a point.
Yes.
He'll get it.
Havertz is starting to get it, which
Kovacic, another one. I mean, I think if you're looking at a captain, and this might sound really strange and weird, I wouldn't give it to Reece James or to Mount at the moment. I'd actually give it to Kovacic.
Yeah. Listen, I can't disagree with that. I mean, that guy is just, for me is absolutely phenomenal. I think he's absolutely our player of the season. I think he would get into most midfields in Europe. I know where you're going on the right here, and I think it makes absolute sense to have Pulisic as an impact sub, possibly.
And maybe Ziyech is another impact sub. I think. I don't know.
I'm not a fan.
No.
I gotta be honest with you. Ziyech, I think he's another player that looks like he's got an ego. He walks around the place like he owns the place, and I haven't seen enough of him. That's like, he's had moments, he's had bits, he's done bits and pieces, but for me, like if look, Todd Bowley and Team America are going to back their American boy. We know that. I think Pulisic has all the potential in the world. But if you're asking me who I think is a better player and who's a more exciting player, I'm picking Pulisic every day because I mean,
Yeah.
I find a little bit of a love in with the Chelsea fan base on Ziyech because of a couple of fancy goals he scored. But
Yeah.
I was at the Brentford game where he cost us a goal because he
Yeah.
just isn't strong enough.
I've got no issues with Pulisic, because
Yeah.
I remember under Lampard, he was playing Pulisic right wing.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's playing or false. No, he wasn't. Sorry, tell a lie. He was playing him as a false nine.
Okay.
As well. If you remember, I'm sure it was Pulisic. If you remember, there was a period when in the first season, Tammy Abraham got injured.
It was after Christmas, right?
No, I think it was just before Christmas.
Well, in around that period, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And then we're all saying on Twitter, Giroud's got to start. He wasn't even picking Giroud. Giroud be sitting on the bench, wouldn't even come on. He was playing a false nine, and he'd be putting Pulisic false nine. Pulisic would just not be performing, and hence we weren't scoring goals. It's not Pulisic's fault. And I was saying on Twitter, I watched around the same period the US team in a game, and Pulisic played as a cam, as a number 10, and he was brilliant. So he could theoretically play left, sort of number 10 or the right, but he can't really play any further forward. So there is that option to play him as a cam. I think he did that against Leeds, didn't he?
Yeah, he was fantastic, and he was also fantastic against Wolves too.
Yeah, he's a good. Injuries. I think he's a talent. He's young, and I think he will do well. He just needs a run in the team, and I don't think he's been deliberately dropped because of there's a falling out as being rumored with Tuchel. I just think it's like Chalobah. I just think genuinely he just didn't feel that. To be fair, Chalobah did make a few mistakes in a few of the games where he gave away the penalty and nearly, I think, gave away another 2 penalties in 2 consecutive games, and he was struggling with, so. I think Pulisic is definitely worth keeping, but you're right about Ziyech. I've not really, apart from maybe a few wonder goals, it's not really. He's not the guy to come on and change the game.
No. I think, but I think Koi definitely needs to start on the right hand side because obviously he's got that left foot. He can cut in, but Reece is a powerhouse in his own right that you don't need to worry about him.
Yeah,
he will. In my opinion, he'll keep Robertson. Tucked away anytime he wants, and I think also, I think Koi is also a workhorse. I mean, he will track back if he needs to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We
got the height in the box, which is really good. The only issue we've got, obviously, on the left side, which frustrates me, is that we don't do enough crosses from the left. Alonso does a few, but most of them aren't very good anyway. I mean, like our corners. I mean, there's another.
What happened to Reece James and Alonso taking corners? I mean, they were doing a great job at the start of the season.
I don't know. There's actually an account I get on very well with, Dan Panda. And I always laugh because he's always, I think every other game, it's like mentioning the corners and how bad they are. And
it's
I think
so bad.
He's been tweeting it about corners for the last 2 or 3 years because it was dire under Lampard as well. And I'm not saying it's Lampard's fault. I'm just saying that so many seasons. So we got our set pieces are terrible. And I guarantee you, if we have a bad day tomorrow, Dan will tweet that as well. But we don't do enough crosses from Alonso's side, and he plays a lot more inwards. And obviously, he does score some great goals, but we do need to get the crossing because you've got Havertz there. You've got obviously the height in the box now. If Lukaku plays as well, that we should take advantage of that as well. But we'll see. It'll be. I think it'll be a close game. Actually, I think.
Well, now you're writing this narrative for me. This is why you're such a great guest. You're definitely coming on again. I think now it comes down to prediction time.
Yeah, I think we'll win it in normal time. We won't wallop them or anything. I think it'll be 2-1. I think we'll edge it. I think we've got enough on the bench to. I think it's our time. I think Liverpool are going to be overthinking the whole thing. I think it's a one-off game for us. We've got nothing to. Well, we've got nothing to lose on the basis that we're not playing for the Champions League final or anything. So it's just that game and plus 2 league games left. So this is our only trophy available. I think that's the motivation enough. I think if Kovacic comes back, Kovacic starts with, and he's fully fit to play the full 90 pretty much, I think we will win. I think without Kovacic, I think we're going to have a problem. So that's why I think it'll be 2-1. I think with Kovacic there, we'll edge it.
I am very intrigued by that because I said that exact same scoreline on the podcast last night. 2-1.
I wasn't watching it, by the way.
Well, it only went up today. It only went up today. You can watch it. You can watch it if you want to watch me battle Liverpool, man.
I will do. Popcorn moment.
It's but yeah, I went 2-1 as well. I have a feeling Lukaku is going to keep the run of form going. And I don't know who's going to score the second goal. Don't really care who scores the second goal, even if it's an own goal. I don't care.
I think it could be a penalty, something like that. Jorginho does score it. I think it might be.
You reckon a goal? You reckon a referee is going to give Chelsea a penalty against Liverpool in an FA Cup final?
Do you know what? I didn't think Anthony Taylor would have done such a great job of supporting Chelsea against Leeds.
But he made up for it later in the game.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, obviously. No, but
no, it's true. It's true.
But we'll know Liverpool going to score. I mean, there's no way. I can't see. I know. It went to penalties last time and all this stuff, but I think on current form, Liverpool will score. But I think what will happen is that Tuchel has got enough on the bench to. What I hope is that he takes a few risks. If it's like 0-0 and it's going towards the end of the game, that he does take a few risks and.
Well, imagine having Kante, Werner.
Yeah.
If we're going on this team that we picked, imagine having Kante, Werner, and Pulisic on the bench and Ziyech.
Yeah.
There's plenty, and we know Tuchel really gets the troops rallied. For these games. So and I have to say, Klopp. I know a lot of Chelsea fans aren't a fan of Klopp, but you got to hand it to him. Like he's been really speaking highly of Chelsea and Tuchel, and you know what I mean. I think sometimes we give him a raw deal as Chelsea fans purely because he's Liverpool manager and he's he's got this kind of ego that's the size of Germany itself. But that's just it's just a German thing.
Imagine the meltdown though. If we, not that we will, but if we rock up and we put 11 men behind the ball for the whole game and just do them on the counter.
Do a Conte? Do you want to park the bus?
Yeah, exactly. Sort of. Imagine the meltdown there. I think he apologised for that anyway, didn't he? He said he got it wrong, but
he did. Yeah. Which I don't know. I think Klopp is a bit of a Yeah, I think he likes the cut of his own jib, as they say. Look, let's call it there. I think we should definitely do a second part. We should definitely, because we've got lots to talk about for sure.
Yeah,
we can definitely do a show where we go back and look at 90s Chelsea. I think that would be a nice conversation where we can solely concentrate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. 90s, we should do it. I mean, there's a guy, Chris Wright, who does a phenomenal job and does a lot of tweets about Chelsea from the Vialli, Hullet eras.
Let's get him on.
Yeah, and he did the post today. So, I know it's gone past midnight, but the 13th of May, 1998 was when we won the Cup Winners' Cup. So on that day, and Chris did the video.
I saw that
great,
actually. Yeah,
great memories.
Gus Poyet.
Yeah. It was great because we the semi-final. I was at the bridge in the second leg, and Sparky scored that phenomenal goal that we needed to get through because Vicenza scored 2 or were 2-0 up. and Poye comes back. It's just the whole season was just great. It
Here's a
was
question. Here's a question for all
yeah,
the Chelsea experts out there.
yeah,
The YouTube experts that are proper Chelsea since 2004.
yeah.
Um, what team? Now you know this answer. What team did Gabriel Ambrosetti sign for, and how much? Please comment if you know the answer,
Yeah.
because the answer is within pretty much the last statement that we mentioned it.
Yeah.
Gabriel Ambrosetti. I had a conversation with Mark Meehan about that, and Mark was like, "You remember him?" I was like, "Of course I do."
Yeah. He was
Um,
all right. He was all right because
he scored one Ranger from well, it was a low driven Ranger from on his left peg, but it just never quite worked out. It was kind of like the Bjarni Goldbeck kind of deal.
yeah, yeah.
Scored
I
some
mean,
belters, but just didn't fit the team.
yeah, he didn't really, and we had Sam Dallabona as well. If
He had a
another
great
Italian.
period, though. He had a great period.
Yeah, yeah. It was like Viali was looking at some of these Italians that I mean, the Casaraghi one would have worked brilliantly if it wasn't for that injury because he scored against Liverpool at Anfield. If you remember
Phil
from
Babb's nuts are still up in his.
yeah, that one which was really funny, and we did well in that game. We did really well, and in fact, we were unlucky because we should have won that game if I
Yeah.
remember. Um, and then it was the West Ham game at Upton Park that he got that horrid injury. That
Oh,
it was an accident, but and he was out for I think after 2 years. He deemed himself retired. He couldn't come back.
to be
Uh,
fair, I think the West Ham fans in that game even clapped him
yeah,
off. Yeah,
they did. Yeah, they did. That was class. They did that to be fair.
they
And
were class. I've always
yeah,
found West Ham to be one of the classier teams in London. Out of
yeah.
you know,
I don't.
out,
I don't have issues with West Ham
no,
fans.
me neither. Me neither.
No.
And I'm an Iron Maiden fan as well, so I love Steve Harris. I don't want him to
Yeah.
ever dislike me.
Yeah. But and yeah, we could have won the league that season. It was just a shame because, as I think we said before the recording, we sort of if things had fallen into place, like Laudrup stayed, if Zola didn't get injured, as he did, as did Flo actually as well. So we had to have Viali on his own up front with, I think, Mikel Forsell, if I
Yes,
remember. Yeah,
the young
who
Finn.
what a lovely guy actually. I was chatting to him on. He was on. He's on Twitter. He's a really nice guy. But
He'd be a pretty
uh,
cool guest to get on
he would
sometime.
be. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
love to ask him about his time at Chelsea, and he went to Birmingham, I think, on
he
loan,
did.
or
He
was
did, and
yeah, or
then
something like that.
he had a good season on loan. Actually,
Yeah, and I think he was with us until Abramovich took over.
he
I
was. He
think
was with us
under
when
Mourinho.
Abramovich took over because remember
Yeah,
he played with Odegaard Johnson in the
that's it.
in
Yeah,
the Champions League qualifying
yeah,
games.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's it. And but I mean, for me, you know, if we'd only got Hasselbank a year before, we might have done better in the Champions League. I mean, what a phenomenal signing him and
Jimmy
Johnson were.
Floyd. You know what? We've
Legend.
got so much to talk about and
Yeah,
so little time.
I know.
But let's do this again.
Yeah,
Let's make this a regular occurrence because
absolutely.
I would love to kind of get you on and talk to some of these old players if there's a possible way that we could do it. You see, like I
Yeah,
say, the Chelsea
we should.
podcast by the fans for the
Yeah,
fans. This is not. We're
yeah,
not here to slate players. We're here to reminisce and to look forward.
absolutely. Absolutely. Look, there's nothing wrong in criticizing constructively players. We have a right because we're fans and we're following the club, and the fans are the most important part of any club. Without the fans, there isn't a football club. So when people some moan about, oh, what we're going to do, no money, or whatever, and oh, we're being sanctioned, oh, we're going to end up relegated, points deducted, whatever. Shit happens. To every club. Everything's in a cycle. And yeah, we've had frustrating periods in the last few years, because of bad signings and bad management. We've wallpapered over the cracks. But we won, 3 trophies in the space of 6 months or whatever it was, 4 months, or yeah, 6 months.
Yeah.
With Tuchel, we've been in 6 finals with him. Okay, we're not at the league level, but to be fair, he's inherited a team that hasn't won the league since Conte, which was 2017, 18,
And it was his first year, 15, 16, was it?
15, 16. Yeah, so that's a long time, you know. And we just have a scouting problem. Once I think the new owners are going to change everything, but we need to sort the scouting out because it isn't about buying, throwing money. You can buy some real quality
We need,
gems.
yeah, we
Yeah,
need proper skill. Last question
yeah,
before we go,
yeah.
because our head of scouting,
Mm.
is really, and I
Scott
don't even
McLaughlin.
want to. Yeah, you
Yeah,
mentioned his name. I wasn't going to because I think he's an absolute fraud.
yeah, he
Um,
is.
Again, this is why I don't want the likes of Marina or anything
Mm.
sticking around long term. I want them
Yeah,
there for the transition,
yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
but not for the long term. And I think
yeah,
Todd Bowley's a very shrewd guy. He'll be talking to the right people.
yeah,
Um, that's the last question I was going to ask you. Your thoughts on Todd Bowley and his team. I mean, I thought it was very refreshing to see an owner sitting there with the knees up, looking very American, by the
yeah,
way, and very
yeah.
cool with with that kind of cool
Mm.
hair and
Yeah,
the old Bono glasses on.
yeah,
Um, giving the whistles and stuff like that. But I have there's something about this guy,
yeah,
isn't there?
yeah. The Ricketts one, I wasn't a fan of, and it wasn't because of people saying
No, no,
I,
no, no. I get it.
I, I did research. So what I do is I see something comes up and there's an opinion about somebody or this consortium, whatever. So I did research, as I did with the property magnate, the entrepreneur who was trying to raise money, the Tory
Oh yeah,
supporter.
your man, yeah, that
Um,
clown who was married
it-
to Holly Valance.
that's
Yeah,
it.
I
So I did
love him.
research on him. He's been at the High Court, I mean, more times than the Werner's been offside.
No, he's a little geezer. To be fair,
Yeah.
he's a Jack Blind.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and he was kind of saying, "Oh, yeah, but I can build a stadium." And exactly what he's doing is he's building it because it's prime property. He'll flog it, whatever he's going to do. He'll make money off it. That's his aim. I did research on the Ricketts, and I read about from the Cubs' own
yep,
fans who
yep.
wrote about. It wasn't just about the emails that the senior
No, the stadium issues and stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
and also the fact that they brought back a player that had been done for rape and sexual
yeah,
assault,
yeah.
and they brought him back, and then they had a coach apparently that that uh, had a had a gay player who's a very good player, and he said, look, and he just comes out and says, look, I like him as a player, but his lifestyle, I don't want it anywhere near the club and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, you just can't say that. It's none of your business. And secondly, um, what's it to do with you? It's not doing you
Keep it
any
to
harm. And
yourself. Yeah, yeah,
he is as much of a human being as you are.
yeah.
And where's your integrity and all this stuff? So there was a load of this stuff coming out, and the Cubs fans were saying that I got to the point where I can identify with my club anymore.
And the
So
Cubs are
I
a
thought,
huge club.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, and I got put off by that immediately. So I did the research. I said, yeah, I don't want these guys, regardless of what they're promising. Then the Bowley bit came in, and I saw an interview that he did. I found it on YouTube,
The
and he's
business
been interviewed.
interview.
It was the one. No, it was the one where he was. They were talking about him buying. Would he be interested in buying? This is a few years back. Would he be interested in buying a club in the Premier League? And he
Okay.
was talking about how he sees it, why he would be interested. And this is, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. He did the interview. Very well spoken. I thought what was great was that he was not saying I know it all. It's for me to buy a club and to really get to know the football culture in the UK, how it works, and I want to learn from other people. I want to be part of the fans. The fans are so important. So he was saying all the right things, and I thought, well, actually, this guy seems really cool, and he's saying all the right things. And so I kind of went that way. The Lord Co one, I just didn't think, because he's Neil Brufton, is it Brufton?
Yeah. Broughton. Yeah.
Broughton, sorry. I just didn't. Um, and then obviously we had the one that came in 3 weeks after the deadline, which
Paluca, well, Paluca, and then
oh
yeah,
yeah,
and then
Paluca could have been all right actually,
he
maybe
could have been
possibly.
okay, but then we
Um,
had Ratcliffe, yeah, was come in. But
yeah,
I watched an interview with Todd Bowley, and it's from about 2 years ago where he was just talking
mm,
to him. He's in the middle. It's actually an interview that's pretty accessible. I think it's one of the ones that are up there that most people have watched, and
mm,
but it's about business, and he talks about how they made the LA Dodgers, on the brink of
yeah,
pretty much extinction and made them into like such a viable entity. And he
yeah,
talks about how to utilize the stadium with
yeah,
different camera angles and stuff, and give the fans. I think I and not only that. I mean, he
mm,
tried to buy the club in 2019 as well.
mm, mm,
So it seems like that he hasn't just been trying to buy a Premier League club. It seems like
yeah,
this is the Premier League club that he wants, and
yeah.
um, yeah, I'm
I mean,
and yeah, he seems like the right fit. I mean, seeing a picture of him
yeah,
today,
yeah,
with Emma Hayes,
yeah.
you
Um,
know,
what I mean, the thing that fans have got to realize, and I know that the majority are not like this, but obviously we've got fans that, you know, because the club's global now and it's a global fan base, and I love my account because I have more foreign fans than fans based in the UK. And it's great for me to chat to you, for example, to chat to people from the US, from India, from Africa, from even Turkey, and other parts of Europe, to get their views on how they see Chelsea, what their opinions are, because and it doesn't matter that they don't go to the games. You know, they're getting up at silly hours to watch games, and that's commitment in itself. And you
that's
can't,
yeah, 100%,
you know.
yeah.
But obviously they're newer because they've only really seen the global force of Chelsea since Abramovich, because we had Peter Kenyon and we grew the brand. But you know, the reality is that it was a toy for Abramovich. He threw money at the club. We spent big, even when we're in debt and we had to balance the books. He threw another quarter of a billion in there a few years back. Even during sanctions, he pumped in allegedly another 30 million to keep the club afloat, you know, to pay salaries and keep the club functioning, you know, which is what the government requested, the UK government. So we've got to be at a point now where this club, and we've got a businessman who's taken over, who's arguably probably better at number crunching. But, you know, we could theoretically have a situation now where we get the scouting right and we use this Moneyball style data, and we uncover some real good gems that are not going to be 100 mil, 150 million. Yeah, we'll have maybe one or two marquee signings, but you know, gone are the days that we should be just throw money, because we have to be self-sufficient as a
Well,
football club.
the only thing
You know,
I do expect a big summer this year. I think
yeah,
I expect a lot of money thrown
mm,
this year, but I think
yeah,
it's going to be in key parts
yeah, of course,
where we need, and I think they're going to be the
yeah,
signings. But
yeah,
where we go, right? We need Jules Koundé. We need, we've heard Koulibaly. All these
yeah,
names thrown out. Boom.
yeah,
Chouameni. Declan Rice.
yeah,
Whoever we get, I think we're going to see some. I wouldn't be surprised. I said this. I wouldn't be surprised to see like, you know, a Dembele, like we said, from
mm,
Barcelona, or a
yeah,
Paulo Dybala on a free.
yeah,
These type of players as well that are marquee signings as well coming in. But that's to set the foundation and build on the base that we already have, and
yeah,
then going forward,
yeah,
I think that's the sustainability. I think they're going to
yeah,
spend big this year. I wouldn't be surprised to see 300 million. Maybe I'm
yeah,
exaggerating, but I wouldn't be surprised to see 200 million, 300
yeah,
million spent this year.
yeah,
And then next year
yeah,
going forward, that's where you
yeah.
see you know, the one big player that we need, maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, you're spot on with the scouting. I mean, it's something I've moaned about. I mean, I remember there was an article that I think it was a Sun or Mirror or something, that the tabloid, it was one of the tabloids, did a piece on McLaughlin, and Morata was leaving, or we knew he was going, and then suddenly, you know, this headline that I've got to find a replacement for Morata. Like I'm scouring the globe. You know, you know. Um, any mountain, any all over sea, land, and whatever. I'm going to find him, you know, and bring him to the club. It was that kind of view, and he's talking
Oh
about
God.
himself. And who do we end up with? Higuain. Now I know Sarri, he played for Sarri, but I genuinely think, I don't think Sarri just said, I want Higuain, I want Higuain. I
No.
guarantee you that, uh, you know, it could have been Higuain's an option, but actually, Sarri, here's another list that we've scouted, and some of these are really good. I don't think for a minute that Sarri would have said, no, 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 I want Higuain, because, you know, the thing that makes me laugh is that after all that scouting, we've ended up with 30, at that point, I think 33-year-old who didn't exactly have a great season, and we brought him in on loan. If he was that good, we wouldn't have got him on loan. You know, they wouldn't have released him on loan mid-season. You know, the best signing we did in the January recently, or not recently, a few years back, is Giroud.
Giroud.
Without a doubt. Why we got? It's just a shame. I saw him actually. The Milan Sunday. Milan beat. Who's they beat? They beat. Forgot their name. Vicenza. Was it? No, not Vicenza. Sorry. 2-1. I think it was, to go back to the top. And he had a great game. He didn't score, I think, but he had a really good game. And
He sent us a message on the official Twitter
I
as
saw
well.
it.
Wishing us
Yeah,
luck. It's kind of breaks your heart, doesn't it? You're like, oh, I would love Giroud to be there as a.
yeah. And I look, Abraham. I don't know what happened there. I what I like about Abraham, he works his arse off, and he did every game for Chelsea without a doubt. He's Chelsea through and through.
But he's getting the Mourinho treatment now. He's gonna be a proper bastard if he ever comes back to the.
Yeah, maybe he just needed to be in a, like Tomori. Tomori is speaking the language. He's playing in a different country. He's being mentored by a club that's got Maldini there. Maldini's mentoring him clearly to a point. That he's around class, very good class players. The same for Tomori. He's around someone like Mourinho who's been there and done it. He's also around a number of class players. A club like Roma with that history in a different country, it does make a difference to players. They become better. They come back here, and it may be a stepping stone for them. So
cultured,
maybe,
you know what I mean? They
yeah,
become cultured.
it's good experience to have. I'm pleased for him. Look, he wouldn't be my choice. If you were to pick a striker to come back or to get a striker to come in, he wouldn't be my choice personally. However, I wish him all the best, and I'm very proud to see him doing well, as Tomori as well. Seeing ex-Chelsea players doing well somewhere else,
Absolutely.
as long as they don't affect.
As long as they don't affect us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure, my brother.
No, likewise, and thank you so much.
I'm glad you popped your podcast, Cherry, and I'm sure
Yeah.
you're going to be back on many times throughout.
No, it'd be great.
100%. I'd love to have you back on because there's so many more things to talk about. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we'll definitely be chatting tomorrow, obviously during the game. And
yeah, I'll be on. So I'm watching with my dad tomorrow.
Nice.
So
Nice.
which will be good because he's not very mobile. So hence why I stopped my season ticket, because to spend my weekends with him, I didn't feel right that I kept going to see games and he couldn't go anymore. And yeah, which I've been there and done it. I've been at the ground so many years, and I've watched games and had great times. And now it's for me to spend it with him. So tomorrow will make his day. I'll watch it at his in London, and we'll see what happens. But just so you know, when I've watched every Chelsea game with him, we've lost. So not a great omen, really. But
do you want to maybe I'll tell you what, I have a solution.
Take him to the pub.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a solution. Either take him to the pub or maybe 2 separate TVs.
Maybe, yeah.
You go into a different room.
It's very weird. I don't know why. Every match I've watched with him, there was a match when we got battered by PSG, and I can't remember which. It was on a Wednesday or something, and I was round his watching it after work. I went there for dinner, and we got battered, and I just left really paid off. And I watched the cup final last year with him at his. So I think we'll be okay. I think I've told my dad to put the lucky socks on.
Let's break the streak. Let's break.
Yeah, exactly. We have to do it.
Yeah.
It'll be
But
fine.
listen, absolute pleasure, my friend.
Likewise.
Absolute pleasure. Let's do the business tomorrow, and 100%. I will chat to you tomorrow, and we're gonna bring the company.
And it's been a pleasure. You're a true gentleman. It's great to meet people face to face from social media, and you're doing a great job, by the way. And I love to chat to you about wrestling sometime as well.
We are definitely going to do that. I guarantee you. My brother, you're a gentleman in your own right, and thank you very much for taking the time out this evening.
No, you're a superstar, mate. Thank you.
And come on, Chelsea.
We're going to do it. 2-1. It's going to happen.
2-1. It's happening.
Yeah.